pleasant day to everyone. For this time, we are going to learn about the component music grade 10, 20th century musical style, quarter 1 for week number 2. Composers of 20th century music, MELC. Explain the performance practice, including setting, composition, role of composers, performers, and audience of 20th century music. Before we begin our lesson, let us try to answer this activity. Direction. Match column A to column B. Write the correct answer to the provided space before the number item of column A. Let us reveal now the following answer on this activity. Number 1, avant-garde letter K, space sound parameter. Number 2, atonality letter H, which is lack of tonality for tonal center. Number 3, chance music letter A, use of ring modulators. Number 4, expressionism letter B, which is 12-tone scale. Number 5, impressionism. The answer is letter I, full tone scale. Number 6, music concrete. Letter D is the answer, which is recording natural sound. Number 7, retrograde. The answer is letter F, reverse motive of twitch. Number 8, NEO-CLASSICISM. The answer is letter G, which is 7-note diatonic. Number 9, electronic music, which is the answer is letter E, synthesizers and amplifiers. And last number, modern nationalism. The answer is letter C, folk materials and modern style. So our lesson for today is all about composers of 20th century musical styles. Objective: identify known musical composers and their contribution in 20th century musical style. As musical composer of contemporary era, established their own and created a new unique style in writing, composition. Some of them move away in convention style, technique, and treatment to the music, while other composers take advantage the product of 20th century technology and introduce innovative ways of creating musical piece, resulting into variety of musical style that influence the music scene nowadays. Impressionism composers. Claude Debussy, he is a French composer. He entered the Paris Conservatory at the age of 11. He has unique use of harmonies which defy the sacred rules of music theory and also considered the foremost impressionist. Claude Debussy also introduced a new chord combination, especially the whole tone chords or the whole tone scale, parallel and bitonal chords, chromaticism, dissonance, interesting rhythms and scales. His famous compositions are Suite Bergamasque, Clair de Lune, Elias et Melisande, Jacques, Yamir, Trapezoidal Sun, Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun. Maurice Ravel. He is also a French post-impressionist composer, conductor, and pianist. He is known for his style and compositions. He came from a family of artists. He received every inspiration from his father when his talent for music became obvious at an early age. He entered the Paris Conservatory at the age of 14. His musical styles are rhythms are more incisive, melody are broader in span and use added notes and unresolved appoggiaturas. Harmonies are more dissonant, orchestration are influenced from the 19th century composer. And his famous works, Daphnis et Chloe, Rhapsody Espagnole, and Bolero. So those are the following composers in Impressionism style of music. We have Claude Debussy and Maurice Ravel. Expressionism style of music composers. We have Arnold Schoenberg. Arnold Schoenberg is an Austrian composer. He learned a violin at the age of 8. He also introduced a 12-tone scale. 12-tone scale it is an arrangement of 12 chromatic pitches in series that provides the melodic and harmonic basis for a music composition. He also introduced prime, inversion, retrograde, and retrograde inversion. Some of his compositions are more on atonality or lack of tonal center. Some of his compositions are Perut Lumiere, The Blessed, Hand Sleepwalker, Berklark Notch, or Transfigured Night, and Survivor from Warsaw. Expressionist composer is Igor Stravinsky. Igor Stravinsky is a Russian composer known as a pianist and conductor. He also belonged to the family of musicians. His father is a bass singer of the Imperial Opera. He learned orchestration through the guidance of composer Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. He is also known as a neoclassicist composer. Some of his famous compositions are The Rite of Spring, Oedipus Rex, and The Wedding. Now, those are the following Expressionism composers. We have Arnold Schoenberg and Igor Stravinsky. Neoclassicism composers. Bela Bartok is one of the neoclassicism composers. He is a Hungarian composer who has contributed greatly to music. He is a pianist, teaches music, and actively developed ethnomusicology field in Hungary. He composed a mix of nationalism with his melodies influenced by folk music of Hungary. Hungarian people inspired many of Bartok's compositions. Some of his famous compositions are Song of the Bagpipe, Microcosmos, Piano Sonatina, and Allegro Barbaro. Next on our list, another neoclassicism composer is Serge Prokofiev. Serge Prokofiev was inspired by hearing his mother practice the piano. He studied under Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov. He also a neo-romantic neoclassical composer. More of his works are dissonant, mix of tonal and atonal elements, playful, feel despite dissonance. His famous known compositions are Classical Symphony, Symphony Number 1, Piano Concerto Number 3 in C major, Op. 26. And last on our list, another neoclassicist composer is Francis Poulenc. Francis Poulenc is one of relatively few composers born into wealth and a privileged social position. The neoclassicist Francis Jean Marcel Poulenc was a member of the group of six young French composer known as Lessig. His compositions had truly elegant modernity, tempered by a classical sense of proportion. Poulenc was also fond of the witty approach of Sati, as well as the early neoclassical works of Stravinsky. His known compositions are Concert Campestre, Concierto for Two Pianos, Les Mamelles de Teresias. And those are the following listed composers in neoclassicism style of music. We have Bela Bartok, Serge Prokofiev, and Francis Poulenc. Avant-garde composers. George Gershwin is known as an avant-garde composer. He was influenced by Ravel, Stravinsky, Berg, and Schoenberg, as well as group of contemporary French composers known as Les Six that would shape the character of his major works, half jazz and half classical. He is a true crossover artist and also known as father of American jazz. His famous compositions are Rhapsody in Blue, An American in Paris, Porgy and Bess. Another prominent composer of avant-garde style is Leonard Bernstein. Bernstein's philosophy was that the universal language of music is basically rooted in tonality. He believes in tonality. He later turned conducting and lecturing in order to safeguard his principle as to what he believed was best in music. He achieved preeminence in two fields, conducting and composing for, for Broadway musicals, dance shows, and concert music. His famous compositions are West Side Story and Candid. And last on the list, an avant-garde composer, Philip Glass. He explored the territories of ballet, opera, theater, film, and even television jingles. His distinctive style involves cell like phrases emanating from bright electronic sounds from keyboard that progressed very slowly from one pattern to the next in very repetitious fashion. Use soothing vocal effects and horn sound. His music is often criticized as an eventful and shallow, yet startlingly effective for its hypnotic charm. His known compositions are Music in Fifths, Music in Similar Motion, Music in Changing Parts. And those are the following composers of avant-garde. We have George Gershwin, Leonard Bernstein, and Philip Glass. Next, we have electronic music. One of the prominent composer of electronic music is Edgar Varese, known as the father of electronic music. He was considered an innovative French-born composer. He pioneered and created new sound that bordered between music and noise. He invented the term organized sound, which means that certain timbres and rhythms can be grouped together in order to capture a whole new definition of sound. His famous compositions are Home Electronic and Desert. Another electronic music composition is Karlheinz Stockhausen. He is a central figure in the realm of electronic music. Stockhausen's music was initially met with resistance due to its heavily atonal content with practically no clear melodic or rhythmic sense. Experiment the use of music concrete. His helicopter string quartet, in which a string quartet performs Whistle Airborne in four different helicopters, developed his long-standing fascination with music, which moved in space. His famous compositions are Study 2 and Helicopter String Quartet. And those are the following composer of electronic music. We have Edgar Varese and Karlheinz Stockhausen. Chance music composer. So for our chance music composer, we have John Cage. John Cage is 20th century conceptual artist who famously composed the piano piece titled 4 minutes and 33 seconds in 1952, which consists of the pianist sitting at a piano and not playing for exactly 4 minutes and 33 seconds. He continued to experiment and push the boundaries music and embarked on a career of what he called an exploration of non-intention. Used found objects in ambient sound, experimented with magnetic tape editing and splicing, and used a variety of composing methods to create compositions that were usually performed live instead of recorded. His famous compositions are sonatas and interludes, 4 minutes and 33 seconds, concerto for prepared piano and orchestra. That is the composer of chance music. I hope that you learned something about the different composers in 20th century music. Thank you very much for watching.